Now, about 9 years ago, me and our next guest were looking at our big break. TVNZ7 was launching and looking for new talent, and they gave us both shows. My show was called Media 7, and his was called Backbenchers. As it happens, in the last couple of months, both of them have come to the end of their run. Put it that way. It's been a pretty good run, and the difference is that we got to say goodbye properly. I mean, our show's been through 3 iterations, but it's still the same project, and we got to say goodbye. Poor old Wallace, last show of the season, the day before the NZ On Air funding round announcement, and you never got to say goodbye, Wallace.
No, I didn't, and I've got to say, look, it's great to be here, and what an icon, Russell. Round of applause for Russell Brown here. And it's just like, fuck, we're in the same space together. High fives. Here we go. Wow. In terms of saying goodbye, it wasn't a big deal. I'm not a big goodbye fan. You know, it's just like, I can always recall a sort of a story when a show that I loved, Russell, which was Eating Media Lunch. And Jeremy Wells get pulled into the sort of a commissioner's booth at TVNZ and says, his show's been canned. And Jeremy Wells said, good. You know, enough. 10 years is a century in TV. It's a century.
Yeah, it is. It's an extraordinarily long time. What I was always impressed about with your show was that you had, and we actually have some of them here, we have the people who...
oh my God.
Yes.
The marijuana men.
The marijuana
Gary.
men.
Dr. Green. They gave me fucking assholes every single Wednesday for 10 years. And you're here. Did you know I was coming?
Yes.
That's outrageous.
Yeah, no, they came up from Wellington. Gary came up from Wellington because he knew he was
this guy,
doing it.
Gary, he smokes a lot of pot. He's like my brother. He's like my brother. Yeah, he's a fan, not a stalker. They're here. Shit.
Yeah, no, they came up. Well, I mean, I think it was a real testament to what you do that people treated it like the public square and they wanted to be there. And some of them were there every week.
That was the proudest thing, just in a nutshell. I'm not going to bang on about the show called Backbenchers, which some might have seen, some didn't. But it was, for those who didn't see, it was a show set in a pub called the Backbencher, in Wellington from 2008. And we'd count down in my ear, 5, 4, 3, you're on. And it was live in a bar. And it was a very, very unique concept. And people like Gary and Dr. Green here and a whole lot of people would pile on in and watch us debate with backbench MPs. And it was a bizarre concept. It was a weird concept, but over time it worked. It didn't work at the start. It did not work at the start, Russell. But over time it became, I suppose, a cult watch.
Well, and one thing that struck me, Wallace, is that with Media 7 we did a show in Wellington once, and I got your comms. If you don't know, comms are what we have in our ears, so we can hear the director and know vaguely what's going on. And they gave me Wallace's comms set to Wallace's level. Oh my God.
Boom.
It was so loud.
10.
But that was a reflection of that environment, wasn't it?
In the early days, when it was live on TVNZ7, there would be like sort of 110, 112 people, and it was 9 p.m, so it was a drinking crowd. Kind of revelling assholes like Chris Bishop, the guy he had, would sort of pile on in and just make a lot of noise. His mates like Todd Barclay would come on in save it for the panel.
He's Todd Barclay, the former tobacco lobbyist we don't like.
And would make a lot of noise, and it would be up to me to sort of corral this unusual drinking crowd. But it was an unusual format. And, I mean, for example, there was one guy, there was this Texan judge that came in once. I can always recall, about 2011, and he was a senior judge in all of Texas, the guy who sort of put people under. And he goes, wow, what a concept, huh? Okay, yeah. He goes, so this is a real bar? Okay, yep, it's a pub. So it's not a stage? No. So these are real members of parliament? Yeah, I said, yeah. He goes, wow. I said, what's wow about it? He goes, in the US, this would never happen. It would never happen.
And actually, interestingly enough, I talked to some of the delegates from the Drug Law Symposium, which was on in July, and I came over with them unfortunately went past the marijuana chaps outside and then had to be on camera.
Always. You guys are crazy.
Yeah. Just walk past and sniff, I think, next time. They had the same view, and they couldn't believe that there you were sitting down asking members of Parliament whether they'd ever smoked marijuana or not. And there's this familiarity about New Zealand that lets us do that, isn't there?
Yeah, I don't want to sort of go on about it too much, but those 10 years of that format back, it was a very unique model. There was no other show like it in the world where you had that sort of proximity, Russell. It was like sort of it was like Mediataka. It was like Media 7. You've got a square like this. You've got a drinking audience. It's live. There's no security. You've got senior members of Parliament. It's like, fuck, what can happen? It wouldn't happen in the United Kingdom. It would not happen in Texas. It wouldn't happen in Australia. And many, many times would have sort of senior representatives coming over from across Parliament, being absolutely wowed by the format, and staying for a long time, hanging out with me, sort of saying, just, wouldn't this be great in Canberra, this sort of model? Wouldn't this be great in Phnom Penh? Wouldn't this be great in Singapore? Wouldn't this be great in Texas or New York, And I suppose if there was one of my saddest moments in broadcasting history, it was when I got a call saying we have a chance for Backbenchers TV to go to the United Kingdom and do 2 shows at the iconic Red Lion Tavern, which is their version of the Backbencher, right across in Westminster. And I said, you've got to be kidding. And we put 2 months into getting 2 shows together. One on the New Zealand-UK economy, one on climate change. We got 4 UK MPs each. We had the tickets booked. We had the promo done. It was going to be called Backbenchers UK. It was all done.
Snappy.
Flights were booked. Thank you, Jussel. And what happened? The Sky TV News of the World scandal broke, and all the MPs pulled out one by one.
Oh, that's a shame.
Didn't happen.
Now, we should also talk about what you're doing now. You get to talk to a lot of well-known people on that Sunday morning show, which you have made your own. How's that been? Because you seem to have, again, that's something that maybe it was a challenge at first, but you've made it your own.
I do the show on Sunday morning on hands up those who listen to RNZ. Radio New Zealand.
Yeah,
all right,
I love how you were trying to explain that to this audience.
Well, it's not a given.
Have you heard that? RNZ National, it's very good.
It's not a given, but 4 years ago, because I was doing a similar sort of show on Radio Live, and I suppose it's just about backing yourself, but on the final day of submissions, a senior journalist rang me and said, have you applied for the job on Radio New Zealand? I said, no, because I wouldn't get it. And he goes, well, dude, they close in 2 hours' time. Are you seriously telling me you're not going to apply? And I go, no, because I'm not going to get it. I mean, you've got the Hewitt Humphreys, you've got the Todd Niles, you've got the Marty Dudas, you've got the Kim Hills. Wallace Chapman ain't going to...
You're shitting me. You're seriously telling me that you applied for that with 2 hours before deadline?
This is a true story. This is a true story. And this senior journalist, I'll tell you after, I'm not going to... he goes, just apply. You'll be a great fit. I applied. I got a phone call. Long story short, I got the job. At the time, the backdrop to that was, because I was an outside chance, but the backdrop to that was that at the time on Radio Live, I was doing a fuck a lot of radio. I was filling in. The Roastbusters case had just broken. So Willie and JT had been pulled off the air. And I got a phone call from Rick, the program director of Radio Live, Sunday night, we've got a problem. We've got a major show on Radio Live, hasn't got a host. Can you fill in? I said, you've been pulling for the Roastbusters. I'm not going to do it. You kidding me? It's just crazy. It's just like suicide. And he goes, do it. I ended up loving it. I did it for 5 months. I got the job. So the backdrop to RNZ was I was doing a hell of a lot of radio, and at the audition, I just nailed it. I got the job.
Yay. Well done. Now, this looks like...
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you.
this looks like exciting times for RNZ. Labour's RNZ Plus plan it implies the expansion to online and TV. And it seems a happy ship at the moment. I mean, you must be quite excited about the prospects.
You know what? I've got to say, working for Radio New Zealand is like BFM, like when I worked at BFM. It's just a dream job, Russell. I kick myself. Even this morning going in, waking up at 5 a.m, going and starting at 7. It's just an absolute dream job. I absolutely love it. Like the good ship B. I just so enjoyed. I'm sort of kind of an accident broadcaster. It wasn't design. I've never sort of wanted to be a broadcaster, but here I am. I've got to say, though...
that's actually a very interesting thing. You came as creative director. You were writing ads.
Yeah, that's right.
Charlotte Ryan arrived as a marketing person.
Yeah.
Hugh started on the front desk. He was the receptionist. There's actually quite a track record of people who never intended to be in radio.
It's the BFM accident broadcasters. But it's. I mean, I filled in for your show. On that's kind of how I started, Russell. Filling in for you and filling in for breakfast. Got to know my own voice back at Radio 1 as well. But working for Radio New Zealand was a bit tough because in 2014 that was a new intake. And it wasn't all roses because when I first started, Guy Espiner and Susie Ferguson started. They'd taken over from Jeff Robinson and Sean Plunkett. And I've got to say, it's a juggernaut now, but the first book came through, the ratings fell off a cliff.
Yeah.
And I can remember getting that email through and the boss going, nothing to worry about, too much. We're down by we're down by 60,000 people. I mean, seriously, it was not cool. Herald, John Drinder started printing stories, like a lot of stories. What's the future of RNZ? These new cats coming in. Happy to say now, not blowing RNZ's trumpet, but it's just a juggernaut. It's huge. I mean, in terms of, if you ask me how my show is doing, it's nudging 300,000 people a Sunday. It's extraordinary. I'd like to say it's due to me. It's probably not. If I left, it'll be, it'll still continue. But it's a pleasure to be part of the Good Ship RNZ.
Well, as a freelance print journalist, I'd just like to say, are there any jobs going?
There actually are quite a few, Russell. If you go to rnz.co, scroll down to the bottom and click About and Careers, there's one for you.
Oh, nice one. Thanks, Wallace. Just one more thing, because we have Julia Deans coming up very, very shortly.
Oh, wow.
One thing I'll always remember about when TVNZ7 was starting up, and we had, I think our show was launching with me and Simon Pound, and later on we took on Jose. Your show was launching with you and Damien Christie, later on Charlotte Ryan, and we were banned from mentioning our BFM heritage because it was a brand clash. I really thought they got that wrong.
They got it really wrong, and just in terms of brand clashes, I've always long thought that that's a shocking decision. New Zealand's a small country, and why would you brand... Now it's all about sort of simpatico and sort of combining strengths. Shit, I've combined strengths for years. It's just like, mention BFM when you can. Why not? Recall Sean Plunkett, the massive fight that he had just to try and get another outside gig when he was doing Morning Report. He sort of started doing a blog about it. Sean does crafts. It was actually a very good blog too, by the way. But in terms of BFM, that station and being there for 6 years, Russell, taught me so much about broadcasting and authentic broadcasting. I'll always cherish those days. Round of applause, BFM. Come on. Yeah. What a great station.
And I'm happy to say it is still the talent factory. I mean, we've been not just Jogo but Shamina in the last one of these events we did. It's still pumping it out.
Absolutely.
And more than ever, it's young women, which is great as well.
Very cool.
So anyway.